create the leaven, which is measuring out the exact amount of sourdough starter that you'll need in your bread, I take a jar and I'm going to add to it 45 grams of my rye flour. 45 grams. My scales is a bit finicky, but there we have it, 45 grams. I'm also going to put in 10 grams of starter. Combine them really well. And this, even at this stage, you're breaking down the gluten in the flour, so you give it a good mix. And you're creating a thick batter-like consistency. There we have it, it's quite a thick paste. If I turn it upside down, it's not going to fall out. And I'm going to leave that to rest. Now I'm going to put a lid on top, but I'm not going to seal it because it's the bacteria in the air and the yeast in the air that actually causes this starter culture to rise. So we just leave a loose fitting lid on top, leave it on your countertop, and over a few hours, depending on the room temperature of your house, you will see that expand and grow. In size, and once it has doubled in size, it's ready to use. Now I'm going to take my original starter that I had here, and I'm going to remove some of it and put it into what's called another discard. So instead of throwing it away and discarding it, you can reuse this in a variety of ways, and how I reuse it is to make pizza bases, and they're just so wholesome and nutritious and work out really well. So once you get the hang of it, you will never be buying a pizza again, because your own homemade sourdough pizza base is king. So I've taken away and left, say, about a tablespoon of my original sourdough starter in the jar, and so that one there will be left in the fridge, and you can use that at any stage during the week to create your pizza base. And from that one there alone, I could probably get 2 pizza bases from that one. To make the sourdough bread, I use organic strong white flour, organic plain flour, leaven, which was started from the sourdough starter itself, some Himalayan salt, some water, measuring jug, weighing scales, and I have a sourdough starter kit, and that included 2 of the baskets, a little scraper, a mixer, separate to that is a wooden spoon, a spatula. And being Easter week, I thought it was a good idea to show a video making the sourdough bread, and there we have a measuring bowl and also a Dutch oven. Whatever you remove from the sourdough starter itself, always replace it after you've used it. So I just add 2 tablespoons of rye flour to the remains of the sourdough starter jar, and into that I'm going to pour a small, really small amount of water. So it's just flour and water. Combine the 2 together really well until you get like a thick batter-like consistency. I don't measure them at this stage. And this will sit out on the countertop, and I will use this direct or use it to make leaven for bread. This will last on the countertop for a day or 2, after which length of time you'll have to add more flour to strengthen the starter. So it will rise, reach its peak, and then it will fall again. You always want to use it when it's at maximum strength. And that's it. So it's strong enough that it won't fall out of the jar, and that will then double in size and will be ready to use. So just leave the lid loosely on top so that the bacteria and yeast from the air can work its magic on your starter. I've measured out 200 grams of the strong flour, 150 grams of the plain white flour, 210 grams of tepid water, and that would give me a 60% hydration bread. I tried the higher hydrations, but they just don't work for me at the moment. So add your flour. Add your 2 flours to a mixing bowl. To measure this as well, because my leaven, I normally put in 70% leaven into 210 grams of water. Just make sure that when you add your leaven or your starter, that it floats around the surface of the water. And that's a really good sign that you've got a really active, ready to use starter in your bread. To that I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And that is it really. You have your 2 flours, you have your water, your leaven and your salt. And taking the mixer, I'm now going to just mix them together. There's so many different ways of making sourdough bread from what I've seen online. So just find a way that works for you and that's manageable. So just give that a good mix. And then you're going to leave it to sit for about 20 minutes before you start your stretch and fold. Stretch and folds, you carry them out over maybe 2 hours, so every 20 minutes or half an hour you do 3 rounds of stretching and folding. I'm just going to leave that to sit. It just lets the water soak into the flour. Now you don't need to do anything else, just put a damp tea towel over your mixing bowl. Again, you're always trying to keep the bread hydrated as much as possible. Just dampen a tea towel and leave it for 20 minutes to half an hour on the countertop before you start your stretch and fold. This is my 3rd stretch and fold. So as you can see, the structure of the bread is changing each time. This is my last stretch and fold. See how much it has changed over the last 2 hours. Be able to have a nice kind of window pane effect where you can see through the bread without it tearing. So I'm just going to take this dough mixture and I'm going to put it into a glass container and leave it on the countertop for a length of time until it doubles in size. So when that dough mixture reaches the top of the lid, I know it's ready and I'm going to then store it in the fridge. This is after a few hours of leaving it on the countertop. Our dough mixture has now risen into this beautifully active sourdough
batter. That is going to form the basis of our sourdough bread. This is where your metal scraper comes in really, really handy. It's very good. And then with our silicone scraper, we can easily scoop it out of the bowl. Sourdough. Fill the basket with some of my rye flour. Scoop up this mixture and I just go there. Sometimes pinch some of this together. Cold mixture. Then I'll pop it into the sandwich bag. Together another little bit there.
Beautiful fresh sourdough bread which can be enjoyed by all the family throughout the day. Once I cut the bread, I will keep it in a sandwich bag just to keep the bread hydrated because it has a tendency to dry out rather quickly. And if it's not used in the day, I will slice the bread and freeze it, and it can be used toasted or reheated in the oven.